line and character spacing. Line and character spacing. So what about line and character spacing? Set leading. How to set leading? By the way, the vertical space between lines of type is called leading, and rhymes with sledding. And for Roman type, leading is measured from the baseline of one line of text to the baseline of the line above it. And the baseline is the invisible line on which most letters set. And you can apply more than one leading amount, by the way, within the same paragraph. And however, the largest leading value in a line of type determines the leading value for that line. Note and be careful please here now. By the way, when working with horizontal ASEAN type, you can specify how leading is measured, and either from baseline to baseline or from the top of one line to the top of the next, like the next image now. This image now explains for you 5-point type with 6-point leading in the left side, and in the right side with 12-point leading in the right side. And how to set leading? How to set leading? We have two steps. Number 1, select the characters you want to change, and if you don't select any text, the leading applies to new text you create. Step number 2, in the character panel, set the leading value. And how to change the default auto leading. How to change the default auto leading percentage? We have two steps again. Step number 1, you should choose justification from the paragraph panel menu firstly. Step number 2, for auto leading, enter a new default percentage. And what about kern and track? Kern and track is meaning kerning in the process of adding or subtracting space between specific pairs of characters. And tracking is the process of loosening or tightening the spacing between the characters in selected text or an entire block of text. Note here please and be careful. By the way, values for kerning and tracking affect Japanese text, but normally these options are used, by the way, to adjust the aki between Roman characters. And you can automatically kern type using metric kerning or optical kerning and matrix kerning, and also called auto kerning, and uses kern pairs, and which are included with most fonts, by the way. And kern pairs contain information about the spacing or specific pairs of letters, and some of these are LA or P or 2 or TR or TA or TU or TE or TY or WA and WO and WA and WO. And matrix kerning, by the way, is set as the default so that specific pairs are automatically kerned when you import or type text. And some fonts include robust kern pairs specifications, and however, when a font includes only minimal built-in kerning or none at all, or if you use two different typefaces or sizes in one or more words on a line, you may want to use the optical kerning options, by the way. And optical kerning adjusts the spacing between adjacent characters based on their chips. And look at this image now. This image explains for you kerning and tracking options, and AS meaning original text, and look at to B as meaning text with optical kerning, and C text with manual kerning between W and D, and D as meaning between W and A, and D as meaning text with tracking, and E as meaning cumulative kerning and tracking. And you can also use manual kerning, and which is ideal for adjusting the space between two letters, and tracking and manual kerning are cumulative. And so you can first adjust individual pairs of letters, and then tighten or loosen a block of text without affecting the relative kerning of the letter pairs. And by the way, when you click to place the insertion point between two letters, kerning values, by the way, appear in the character panel. And similarly, if you select a word or a range of text, the tracking values, by the way, appear in the character panel. And the tracking and kerning are both measured in 1/1000 EM, and a unit of measure that is relative to the current type size and in a 6-point font, and 1 em equals 6 points in a 10-point font, and 1 em equal 10 points, and kerning and tracking are strictly proportional to the current type size. Note here please now and be careful again. By the way, values for kerning and tracking affect Japanese text, but normally these options by the way are used to adjust the aki between Roman characters. So what about adjust kerning? Adjust kerning. By the way, you can't use a font built in kerning information for selected characters, and then select matrix for the kerning option in the character panel, and to automatically adjust the spacing between selected characters based on their chips, and select the optical for the kerning options in the character panel. And to adjust kerning manually, place an insertion point between two characters and set the desired value for the kerning option in the character panel. And note that if a range of text is selected, you can't manually kern the text instead use tracking by the way. And also you can press Alt left right arrow if you use Windows, or Option left right arrow if you use macOS, to decrease or increase the kerning between two characters. And to turn off kerning for selected characters, you should to set the kerning option in the character panel to 0. So what about adjust tracking? Adjust tracking is meaning we have steps. Adjust tracking we have steps. Step number 1. You should select the range of characters or the type object that you want to adjust. Step number 2. In the character panel, set the tracking option. And so what about shift the baseline? Shift the baseline is meaning you can't use baseline shift to move selected characters up or down relative to the baseline of the surrounding text. And shifting the baseline is especially useful when you are hand setting functions or adjusting the position of a picture font. And we have 2 steps. Step number 1. You should select the characters or type objects you want to change. And if you don't select any text, the shift applies by the way to new text you create. Step number 2. In the character panel, set the baseline shift option, then position values. Move the character's baseline above the baseline of the rest of the line, and the negative values move it below the baseline by the way. Like look at this image now. Explain for you type with different baseline shift values. How to turn fractional, how to turn fractional character widths off or on. By the way, by default the software uses fractional character widths between characters. This means that the spacing between characters varies and will sometimes use only fractions of all pixels. And in most situations, fractional character widths provide the best spacing by the way for type appearance and readability. However, for type in small sizes, less than 20 points, displayed online, and fractional character widths could cause type to run together or have too much extra space and making it difficult to read. And turn off fractional widths when you want to fix type spacing in all pixel increments and prevent small type from running together. The fractional by the way character width setting applies to all characters on a type layer. And you can't set the option for selected characters by the way. And also you should do one of the following. To set type spacing for the entire document in all pixel increments, you should choose system layout from the character panel menu, and after that to re-enable fractional character widths, you should choose fractional widths from the character panel menu again. Thank you.